Hi everyone! Today I'll show you 4 issues about the Hollywood Fantasy Orchestra by EastWest that you may not have known or been aware of before. So let's dive right in. Alright, let's start with the first fact: expression maps. So you may know that I like to work with expression maps, and just let me create a new instrument. Here we are, a new instrument with Opus. And we name it strings. And now I just select the Hollywood strings, fantasy strings, and we take the violin and violas and the key switch patch and change to the play mode. So let's have a look at the articulations. There are a lot of articulations here, and you can find more information about the articulations on the articulations page. And here you can see the assignment for the key switches and if the articulation is loaded or not. So if I leave the default settings and now go to the inspector in Cubase and to expression maps and go at the bottom, there you can see import key switches. Let's try it out. And you can see we get automatically all articulations which are enabled in Opus. That's really great. So in my case, just let me delete this map, put it aside. So if I just disable the spiccato and, for example, the leg rep articulation, and the legato slur, just to have the long articulations, thus full, thus egg and tremolo. And now again import key switches, I get exactly the same articulations as before. And it's not affected that the other articulations are disabled. But there's a workaround. First of all, delete the articulations. So back to Opus. If I click on the pencil and deactivate the key for the articulations that are deactivated, alright, and then go back to expression maps and import key switches, then I get just the articulations I would like to have in this expression map. So just a simple workaround. It's not enough to deactivate the articulations. I have to deactivate the key switch as well. Then these automatically imported expression maps are very helpful. So now we move on to fact number 2. I was very surprised about this fact. If you take a look at the key switch master and you take a look at the available articulations, and we just focus on the long articulations, we see sus full, sus ec, then we have some legato and spiccato and tremolo. And when I take a look at the fantasy strings, violins, violas, and I go to the long category, I find here as well an articulation called string leg rep sus ts. I find my sus, sus ec, and under effects there's a tremolo, but this articulation is missing in the KS master, and these high strings are not the only instrument in which the key switch master not includes all articulations. I will put here a list of all the other patches, and in these patches are also articulations missing. So if I want to access this articulation as well in one instrument instance in Cubase, what is a possible solution? First of all, I can build a rack with all single articulations and then assign key switches to each instrument. But then when I, for example, want to change the mood, I have to change the mood for all different single articulations and not just once for the master instance. So what I can do is I just load the missing articulation in the rack. I still have here my long articulations and here my short articulation. So to deal with this, I go to Perform, and here I can define trigger keys. So let's take a look at the range. Of the articulations here. It starts C0, okay. Back to Perform. For example, I can define a trigger for the missing articulation key, for example, to be in the visible area. I just choose A-1, and now I have to add this key switch in my expression map. Because I don't want to bother you and want to be too boring, this does not work. You have to do more. Because I can change now to the single articulation, but I cannot switch back. There is no collision between the key switches, but it does not work. So I have to define a special trigger for the key switch marker as well. So I just choose B-1 to switch to the key switch master, and A-1 to switch to the missing articulation. So I go back to my expression map, and now I have to add the missing one, A-1, A-1, leg rep thus TS, all right, and now I have to add for the existing sound slots here in my expression map another output mapping. So I add a new node on command, and I have to set it to by B-1. So if I want to switch to thus full, first the B-1 key must be sent, and then send the special key switch for this key switch patch. And of course I have to do this for all the others too. And send this first. And now I have defined the key switches. So let's try. And go back. And we can see the expression map switches just again, 2, 4. Oh, the last one does not work. Okay, because I didn't switch to the 4th articulation. Once again, 4 and 1. So now it works. The next topic is directly related to the previous one. Because I just wanted to find out which articulations are missing in the key switch patches, I went through all instruments and found that the names of the individual articulations differ from the names which are used in the key switch patches. In most cases, these can be figured out, but I was unable to do so for the viola da gamba. Let's take a look. We just close all this and we go to viola da gamba. Let's open the key switch patch. Here we are. And take a look at the single articulation. There is a single articulation, for example, called thus ornament. When I switch to articulations, there's no such articulation there. And in this case, the corresponding articulation is SP close. I could never find out this without any information about that. So I just contacted the support, and the support gave me a list for the articulations to translate the articulations in the key switch patch and the individual articulations. I will share this list here so you can use this information as well. So you may ask, why is it so important that the names between the key switches and the individual patches differ, and what the matter with this? So it comes to the orchestrator, because you can use this orchestrator, and I just play some chords. And I can drag and drop the MIDI information to my project. And I get all the MIDI parts and the instruments which are assigned in the orchestrator patch. And here you see just the names of the single articulations. So if I want to use the MIDI parts and move them to my key switch patches, I was struggling because some of the patches are not related in the key switches. So that's the reason why fact 3 was an important fact for me. But now we go back to my fact for the orchestrator. This works very fine if you do it like I did it here. So if you use the drag and drop function to create new tracks. But what happens if I just create some MIDI tracks in advance? So just 16 tracks, and I add this, and now I do the same as before. Just play 2 chords. And now I drag and drop the information to my first MIDI track. Bam. And you can see there's a difference. The first track, just make it a little bit larger, contains 2 MIDI parts. The MIDI part for the channel 1 and the MIDI part for channel 2. This may be an error in the import function, or if I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments. Alright, those were my insights on Hollywood Fantasy Orchestra. If you have some interesting facts about this library, just let me know in the comments. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.